Doctor, look.
Stand aside, nurse. I'm Dr. Homebrew.
Stand clear.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Dr. Homebrew. We are back and ready for action. And the action is coming fast and furious, I guess, or maybe that's just a movie. I don't really know. Today on the show we have Brian Cooper.
Hi.
Brian, welcome to the show.
Yeah, first-time listener, or first-time guest, long-time listener.
Oh, good. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Or
something like that.
Long-time host, but yeah, guests. Well, I've done it before, only maybe once or twice.
Yeah. What do we have from you?
Well, it's a Hazy IPA.
Oh, good. I can't wait for that. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
JP's going to give it a what's the courtesy 13?
Yeah, I'm going to give you a courtesy 13 and tell you to do better. Lager it maybe, take some ingredients out, change your hops up, that kind of stuff. No, that's cool, man. So you're back at it. We've done a Hazy IPA from you before.
Yeah, so this is the re-brew of that, and we're trying to improve it. I made a few changes to the beer.
Oh, cool.
To try to do what Harendu and Brian and you suggested. So yeah, a little bit.
Oh, me? Geez, you don't want to do that. I don't know what I'm talking about.
Take all the hops out.
Yeah, literally change the beer. That's that's literally what you got to do.
Add 3 pounds of flour.
Yeah, right, exactly. And then throw it down the drain. No, but we all know how important good brewing practices are to brewing, especially a beer like this. I feel like I've never brewed it before, but I feel enough to know you got to be pretty clean with what you're doing. And the best way to be clean with what you're doing is to use 5-Star Chemicals. Go to 5starchemicals.com today. Learn about the best way to clean and sanitize your home brewing equipment. That is with using PBW and 5-Star Chemicals in general. And then be sure, while you're there on the website, be sure to sign up for the 5-Star free Homebrew Club program in one of the links in today's show description of the podcast or on YouTube to receive free product, exclusive discounts, monthly educational seminars, and free swag. That's the 5starchemicals.com/homebrew club program.
What homebrewer worth their weight in salt, or whatever that expression is, doesn't have
worth their weight in Star San?
A spray bottle of Star San handy at all times in their kitchen, in their garage. You always need that. And a jar of PBW to rip through some of those organics and get them off your stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan. You guys know this. I'm a big fan of the hop water, the Lagunitas hop water. Just before we jump into Brian's beer, I'm going to try to delay this as much as possible. Yeah, the hop refresher. Yeah. So Sierra Nevada have a beer out now, or have a hop water out called Hop Splash.
Oh, I saw that at Safeway like a couple of weeks ago, and I figured you'd probably be the one to take the plunge on that and let us know how it tasted.
I have. I've talked to Byron about it a couple times. I got it at the store a couple months ago, and I was like, whoa, you guys are doing a hop water now? He goes, yeah, let me know what you think. And I hemmed and hawed about it for a couple of days because I don't like it. And I was like, how do I say that to somebody? And I go, well, it's not really my favorite. I still prefer the Lagunitas one. And I just was like saying all the things. He goes, yeah, I don't really like it either. I'm like, okay, this makes it a lot better to be a little more forthcoming when I know that it's not everybody's favorite. But it is.
What don't you like about it?
Well, it is very, it's bitter. The hoppy refresher, the hop water from Lagunitas is not bitter. It is very much hop flavor with a sweetness there. And it's, sort of like maybe like a soda, I guess. Not really that sweet, but, the same kind of thing. This is literally water with hops in it. There's a bitterness. There's a grassiness also. Actually, this can is different than the can I had a couple months ago. It's a different batch. So it does taste a little bit different. It's not as bitter, or as grassy, but there is like a green note to it that it's not my favorite. It's not my favorite, but my wife loves it.
A green note, kind of like a cut leaves or cut bushes or something, like you're out working in the yard type of, like a vegetal type of thing. It's vegetal. I'm getting it now, and it actually now for some reason it is bitter. My mouth is adjusting to it, but it's almost like
like bitter cucumber. So it's like a light quality. It's very strange. I'm not a big fan of it.
Like a cucumber water, but with hop bitterness.
Yeah, and you know what I think it is? I think it's the Citra. So it's made with Citra and Amarillo hops. And I like Amarillo. Amarillo works great in a lot of different stuff, but I think it's the Citra.
Or maybe just more plant matter from the hops being extracted into the flavor profile. That's true. Or something.
I mean,
there's a lot of different ways you can add hops.
It says you have refreshing notes of peach, mango, and grapefruit. And grapefruit, okay, but I don't consider grapefruit refreshing. Mm-hmm. Grapefruit is inherently bitter, and you have to have a lot of sugar with it to sort of balance it out. I don't really find grapefruit to be a refreshing flavor.
Well, I think it must have been intentional that they're thinking, okay, we're trying to cater towards IPA fans probably because they're going for something called a hop water.
That's exactly what I'm thinking as well. I think it's calculated because Sierra Nevada don't do anything half-assed, right? This has probably been working on this for months and months and months, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like it's definitely on purpose to set themselves apart from the Lagunitas hop water because it's not sweet at all. It just it's dry, right? It's minerally. But like you said, Cooper, to target the IPA people who want something more aggressive in their hop waters. So if you're into that, I think this is a great product for you. But if you're used to drinking just the Lagunitas, be careful. It's going to be different.
Pretty soon Stone will make something called Arrogant Bastard Water. It'll just be like 100 IBUs in water with nothing else.
Fizzy clear water is for wussies.
They'll color it black. Maybe.
Yeah, of course. But yeah, it's not bad. It's okay. It's tolerable when you want something. It's not my favorite, but it is what it is, man. I thought I'd mention it anyway. If you're definitely looking for like a hoppy, more aggressive, sort of non-alcoholic beer, I don't want to say replacement, but substitute every now and then. I think this is what you're looking for. The hop splash.
Yeah, the hoppy refresher sets the bar really high for that category of beverage.
Yes,
and it's really hard, I think, to come up with something that's going to be as good as that.
I agree, and that's sort of why I pointed out the differences between the two, because it's not that. It's not trying to be a hoppy refresher. It's being its own thing.
Yeah. Hey, I was going to show you guys this cool shirt. My wife went to her friend's house and embroidered me a couple of cool Dr. Homebrew shirts with my name on them.
Whoa.
Nice. So I wanted to be sure I was wearing that for YouTube viewers.
Nice.
You can see me wear a Dr. Homebrew shirt. Go to YouTube and see me wear a Dr. Homebrew shirt. It is just really cool, though, and it was very nice of her to do that.
Yeah, it was very nice of her to do it. Yeah. Yeah. And then on our Patreon, you can see him without it. So,
hubba.
Yeah, there's that.
Actually, for the Patreon, you have to pay to not see that.
Oh, I see. That's good. You're going to flip it on them. I appreciate that. I appreciate the hustle. All right, Coop. How long have you been homebrew? This is how many hazy IPAs?
Are you in a homebrew club, Brian?
All right. How many hazy IPAs have you done? How many
guys? You're just so abusive to all our guests. I don't even know why anyone does this.
I don't know why either. Yes. They're bored. There's nothing else to do in life.
I've been brewing for I started in 2003. So
there you go.
Yeah, do the math.
How many hazies have you made in your illustrious career?
Probably about two. 3. Maybe 3.
Really? Because you're like such a big fan of them. You trumpet their cause greatly on the show.
I don't. I like a good one when it's good.
Sure. When is that though? When it's something else. That's when it's good.
Yeah. Well, I like it when they're softer and when they have not just a one-trick pony like just juice-like or just hoppy, but a nice balance of both. Okay. And some of them somehow they just get this really, really soft mouthfeel without being overly thick and chewy.
Yeah.
And they're softer and maybe a little less hazy and easier to drink. The ones that are thick like orange juice, and maybe this one is more like that than some, I find a little harder to, less quaffable. But some of the really nice, gentle ones on the East Coast and sometimes higher alcohol ones help too. The alcohol helps to balance with some of the elements that are there. And that's part of the reason. Well, I'll let you guys judge it and then I'll tell you what I did with it. But anyway.
Yeah, we'll judge it. I mean, obviously, Char's actually going to judge it, and I'll just make comments because that's what I do. And then I want to get into what it was before, and then the differences now and how you approach it, and that kind of stuff. So, Char, take it away. You're the sole content creator today.
All right, man. That's the mantle of responsibility lays heavy on me today on my newly embroidered shirt.
Yeah.
But so, Brian, are you in a homebrew club?
Well, yes, I'm in a club called the Mad Zymergists. I founded the club in 2007. I served as the president for 5 years, and then I said, somebody else can run this shit, and I took off.
Well, where are you located, and where do you meet, should any listeners be interested in joining you?
We have formerly had steady meeting places, but we are currently nomadic. We meet the second Thursday of every month, but if you are in Livermore or Pleasanton or Dublin, California, you can go to our webpage and find out where we're meeting and go chat with one of our officers to find out. But it's cool. We're meeting at Pennyweight Craft Brewing 2 Thursdays from now in Livermore. So one of the new breweries in town here.
Excellent. And
Very
probably
good.
If someone's just passing by, they can just stop by your house and just give you a call and just hang out with you.
True. Yeah. Just raid my 5-tap kegerator. Rate all the stuff out there for me.
If you're in Livermore, it's 3249 West 1st Street. Hang out with Brian Cooper, even if he's not there.
I think that's
you're making it sound way too inviting, Brian. I like this beer.
Okay.
Shall we jump into it?
Let's do it.
So when I opened this up probably about 45 minutes ago, I got high hop aroma, generally stone fruit and citrus, medium malt aroma, a little more than expected. When I opened it up and poured it, I got, it wasn't yeasty, but I got a little bit of yeast in the sense of a fresh baked bread. And it was a little more balanced than expected. Now that it's sat here for about 45 minutes, and I'm going to have a sip of beer on the air.
Always a good time.
And have a
good moment.
That's excellent. That's excellent airtime. No one loves radio aside from silent stuff. That's the best.
Yeah. I love having to go back.
This is me smelling the beer.
I love having to go back and take all of this out in editing. So
I know it's fantastic, isn't it?
I have nothing else to do.
Well, I want to be sure you have stuff to do during the day, JP. I wouldn't want you to be bored.
No, hell no, no.
So what's interesting to me is that what I caught a little bit of yeastiness is as it's warmed up, it's gone, which tells me it isn't really an off aroma or anything wrong with it. There's almost always, if something is an off aroma and it's really actually something wrong with the beer, it gets worse as it warms up. And instead, I'm getting, it was kind of I made that note more balanced than expected. It is definitely more hop aroma now than there was right when I poured it. And it was, one of these classic busy afternoons, and I pretty much pulled it out of the fridge, poured it maybe 20 minutes after I pulled it out of the fridge, and it was still too cold. So I think the cold was impacting my perception of the hop aroma. I'm going to do what we do on Dr. Homebrew sometimes. I'm going to do a live adjustment to my score. So everyone just hang on here, hang on to your seats. The excitement is building. It had been a 7.
I feel like we need theme music for this or something like that, but I don't have any.
Calculator.
What would we use for live judging music? Like what did Judge Wapner have in the People's Court? Yeah. Oh my God, you've got a soundboard.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this.
And now, in corner 1.
Yeah,
I like that smooth jazz kind of 70s beat there.
It's all for my other show. It's all for my Ears Up show. Ears Up podcast.
Yeah, exactly. Do you have the was it the press room?
You know what? I took it off because I had to make room for other shit. I don't.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
And actually, the press room might make sense there. But in any event, I had called it 7 before, and I'm going to jack this up to a 9. Again, real-time judging adjustment. The kind of excitement for homebrew judging that you only get on Dr. Homebrew.
So, actually, let me ask you a question. Since we don't have anybody else reading a sheet, I mean, fill time. How do you feel about making an adjustment like that? Up is beneficial, but does it make you go like, why didn't I get this before? How come I have to make this adjustment? Does it make you question your judging skills, having to make an adjustment like that?
Does it make me question the very assumptions that my life is founded on?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, okay.
No. Beverages get warmer, they get colder. Usually they get warmer when you're judging them.
Yeah.
It's not like you don't adjust scores if you're in a competition situation. You know, if we were sitting at a table with all together and we had 3 judges judging this beer and somebody was an outlier, you know, either they get talked into coming into the consensus, or, you know, eventually someone has to come to consensus. So somebody has to change. And I don't know. I feel like when I was younger, maybe that would have been an issue. Like if I was just starting off judging, I'd be like, oh man, why didn't I get that? Yeah, that's crazy. Why didn't I smell that? Why wasn't I noticing that? But when you have judged a whole lot over like 20 years, I mean, you realize that, yeah, sometimes what you pour in the glass isn't what you're going to smell out of it, you know, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes later. And that's just the nature of the beast. And especially for this show, you know, I try to make time to be sure I'm judging these a couple hours before the show. Sometimes like life intervenes and you don't always have that time. Right. So you're not always judging under perfect conditions. And I, like all of us, whoa, that's like a disco.
No, don't worry about it, Brian. You keep talking. The podcast.
Yeah, I know we're not looking at the YouTube. We're talking at the podcast.
Now I have to edit all this out.
God damn it! I'm just making more work for you. It's just not, the judging situation is not always perfect, and part of, you know, it's kind of like, I'm going to just keep on yapping. When I got to be a master level judge was when I learned to just take the sample, smell it, taste it, write down exactly what I tasted and smelled, and not worry about, oh, there's something hiding. Oh, they're trying to trick me for the exam. No, you just write, but which they do. Their exam. Usually there's a tricky beer. Yeah. No, when you kind of have enough confidence in your ability to just say, this is what I taste and what I smell at this moment, that's when you kind of reach that Zen plateau, I think, of getting to be a master level judge. And part of that is understanding that, yeah, what's in your glass is going to change. It's going to change, maybe not a lot. You know, maybe it'll change a little, maybe it will change a lot, but understanding that and being able to change on the fly, I think is, you know, I kind of joke about it on the show because it's funny and I think it makes for good content. Maybe it's just me, but having said that, that's just part of the process. And I think a good judge understands that.
Fair enough. All right. So where were you? Where were we?
So I changed up to a 9 for aroma.
There you go.
Appearance, 3 out of 3. It's a hazy, but not murky. When they start,
what do you mean not murky? This is. What are you talking about? You can't.
You remember when hazy IPAs first came out? Oh my God, there's a cat. Yeah. Hi, Sebastian. Again, for people not watching YouTube, there's a cat in my
Brian
background
Shar,
walking around.
Stop commenting.
No. Let me stop making
you see and just
do you remember? Okay.
Should just turn off our video.
Yeah, I know. I should do that.
It's all right. I'm mainly just busting your balls, Shar.
I know. It's funny.
Yeah.
Remember when the first hazy IPAs came out and they literally were just clumps of yeast in a glass?
Yes. Is that what you mean by murky?
That's what I mean by murky in this context, all right, where it's just like suspended solids and it's nasty and it looks like something you'd pour out of a high pulp orange juice container. Yes. Not a medium pulp, but like a especially high pulp.
So that's
murky. High pulp.
All right.
Yes.
Okay. All
that's what I think of as murky.
Okay.
It's medium gold, low persistent ivory head. Again, 3 out of 3. Going back to the flavor, initially the flavor is medium hop. I get kind of a blueberry dominated flavor for the hops. And I will be curious later on when Brian tells us his recipe if this is a Mosaic-driven hazy IPA or not, because blueberry is one of those hallmarks of Mosaic. Malts in balance with the hop flavor at a medium level. Bitterness comes up to balance mid-palate. It's well attenuated. Hop flavor rises to medium high as it warms up. You know, initially, again, this is one, and I even noticed this while I was writing this in the first place, where when I first poured it, it seemed way too balanced between malt and hops. And this is not a style where there should be balance between hop flavor and malt. The hop flavor really needs to pop and really be unbalanced in high compared to what the malt flavor is. And as it warmed up, I think that balance became unbalanced a lot more to where you'd really expect it for a hazy IPA.
Okay.
But I still think there's maybe a little too much. And it's interesting. They're having that one last sip. I get a little hint of salt in the finish. And I wonder if Mr. Cooper had adjusted his water or what he did for that. That's an odd bit of salty flavor at the very end. But I gave it 14 out of 20. I enjoyed it. The only issue that I thought I had with it was that it seemed maybe a little too imbalanced between the malt flavor and the hop flavor. And then I'm getting that little bit of salt. It could be that I've had a little bit of dinner here, too. Maybe it's something I got from some food 20 minutes ago, too. Mouthfeel, 5 out of 5. Body is medium high, medium carbonation, slight warming, creamy, no astringency. These beers should be kind of soft and creamy, and it's fine to have bitterness. My favorite examples of hazy IPA tend to be the ones that are a little more toward a hybrid of West Coast and hazy, where they've got a firm bitterness to them on top of having a really high hop flavor and still maintain kind of a soft mouthfeel. But, I mean, your mileage may vary. That's just a personal preference. Overall impression, 7 out of 10 for a total of 38. I thought the malt level initially came across a little too high for style. And, my first thought before it warmed up, and I still think that might be a decent thought. I've not brewed one of these before, but there's components of the grist or extract. I'm not going to assume whether Brian used all grain or extract. There's components like the oat malt and the wheat and so forth that you can use to get that hazy character. And those are important to the style to the extent you need to use those, because it gives you the haziness that you need to make these be good beers. But I wonder if maybe you could drop the malt level maybe a little bit, if that would make this maybe a little more, I hate to say classically hazy.
Yeah, don't ever do that.
I mean, classical? I mean, this is something that's been around for 5 years. So, but it might take it maybe a little more close to the platonic ideal of a hazy IPA.
Dropping the malt.
Just a little bit.
What did you get? Have you scored it yet?
Yeah, I gave it a 38 overall.
38 overall. Okay.
I thought it was really good. That puts it right at the bottom of the excellent range.
So I think
it's a well-made beer.
So you want it less malty, but the same hop level?
Yes. Just a little bit less malty. Or I guess alternately, you could have increased hop flavor, but the malt character seemed like it came out a little high for me for this style.
I'm trying to see if I disagree with you. I feel like these beers need to be lower bitterness than an IPA, than like a traditional IPA, like a West Coast IPA.
Right.
And I feel like the hops on this could come down, but I feel like the malt is sort of at a nice place for me. And again, you guys know more about the style than I do. I don't drink it except literally on this show, and that's it. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, like, I'm debating it. It sort of tastes somewhat like the double hazy IPAs that I have had when I was doing the session.
Mm-hmm.
It's fairly aggressive, and I feel like this style shouldn't be as aggressive. And if I remember correctly, I think Cooper's original beer was even more so than that. I think he's dialed the hops down a little bit, but
I like the bitterness where it is, but I can also see that maybe dialing the bitterness down just a little tiny bit more still might not be a bad idea. And, I'm drinking, I poured this before the show. This is an original pattern hazy IPA. And what's interesting is I'm kind of drinking this in parallel. They have similar flavors and they're kind of similar in profile in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm happy that I gave my friend Brian a excellent score of 38, because this is, there's subjectivity in judging, right? Yeah. So what I think might be ideal is there's more to the style guidelines than what an individual judge might think is a perfect beer. So drinking this, it's not dissimilar in terms of the malt, the level of malt, the level of hop flavor, the level of bitterness. So from that standpoint, maybe I should put this over 40.
I mean, can you allow yourself 2 changes in one show?
I believe the fabric of the space-time continuum may begin to rupture, and I'm not sure that's a good idea.
I'm not sure that's a good idea either. What would I give it? You know, I 38, maybe just kissing 40. Maybe. I don't know. I do think there needs to be some adjustments. I think it is, like I said, a little too harsh. I think it needs to be a little more rounded. But I think I know where Cooper was going, and we'll get to that in a second, where, like you were saying, Shar, it is sort of a hybrid between a West Coast and this traditional hazy kind of thing. Like, what I don't like is the super soft, pillowy, it doesn't drink like an IPA, hazy IPAs. That's what I really have a problem with in this style. I mean, I guess I'm over the quote-unquote clarity issue, where it just looks like dog shit all the time, no matter what. Like, put dog shit in a blender, with added some water, and then that's you calling that a beer. That's what I don't like, but it's fine. I'm over it. But we need to pin the flavors down a little bit, and I feel like that super soft, it doesn't hit it. It doesn't, you know what I mean? The super soft, juicy mouthfeel, that's not what I'm looking for. I would really appreciate something a little bit more bitter, but I think this is a little too bitter for me. Back that down, maybe 20% overall, and I think that's where this style, you know, would live properly.
I agree with you. There could be a little more malt softness as opposed to malt character. Because I think this beer has maybe too much malt character and not enough softness. And that might be something you would look at the grist, right? If you're brewing all grain, because one of the hallmarks of this beer is using the oats, the wheat, other, you know, traditional ingredients that cause cloudiness and haziness, putting those in. You know, you might think it looks like dog shit in a blender, but man, Hefeweizen is like the OG hazy, and that shit is amazing. I could drink Bavarian Hefeweizen all day long.
But am I wrong in that the cloudiness of a Hefeweizen is more appealing than in an IPA? Like the color, like the IPA, the color is a little bit more solid yellow, and I think a Hef is more lighter yellow. And I feel like just that lightness, I don't know, maybe makes it a little bit more where like the IPA, you kind of have a darkness to it. I don't know.
That may be, but you know, think about the fact that Hefeweizen's been around for hundreds of years.
Yeah.
And we expect Hefeweizen to look the way we do. And it was around when we started drinking beer. It'll be around in 500 years, and it'll always look like that. But when you're coming up with new stuff and there's no baseline, it just is what it is.
Right. And that's what I have to get over. Anyways, Cooper.
Yeah.
Let's talk to you about your beer. What's the alcohol percentage on this first?
It's a straight 6.5. So I upped it from the last one was about 5.9. Sometimes I called it 6, but it just didn't hit the gravity I wanted.
Sometimes.
This time, to give it the benefit of the doubt, rounded up. But this one came out at 6.5. I got the gravity up on the initial starting gravity of the beer. I just got better efficiency. I was a little more patient, and it's a pico batch. I was a little more patient mixing in my half a pound of rice hulls in the 2.5 gallon batch. So after the crush, I just really stirred it and mixed it around. I think I had poor efficiency the last time because I kind of did that part in a hurry. And I noticed that in the, inside the container, the mash compartment, it was a little striated. It wasn't coming through smoothly all areas of the mash. So yeah, I think that helped get a little better efficiency and increase the gravity to where I wanted it to be. But the other thing is, and maybe going along with the malt sweetness, is this one finished higher than the previous batch. The other one, I had done this thing where I had like American yeast mixed with London 3, and I did a starter and I didn't brew, did another starter, didn't brew, with the same yeast, and kept it going up and up and put it in the fridge, and finally just brewed and used the yeast. It was like a, third generation batch. I hadn't really even seen in much action. It was ready to go, and just ripped through it, took it down to 1012. This one came down to only 1016. It started at 1066. Wow. The other one had started at 1057. But
that's interesting because I made a note that higher attenuation might help.
Yeah.
And that might be why there's that little bit of additional malt character beyond what you might have wanted.
Yeah. And I didn't have that. The last time I had dumped some wort from a hop cage into the batch. I thought maybe that was what was making all the bitterness. I also, adjusted the the boil time on this is only 15 minutes in the Pico. Then I did a 15-minute addition on the prior one, I believe. This one I did it only at 10, but it's an ounce of hops at 10, so it's pretty substantial. But you have 4 hop cages to work with. I mean, I guess I could do 1, 2, 3 and out, but it seems, I don't know. Yeah, I could probably reduce the bitterness. Had like a 5-minute pre-boil and then 10 minutes with all these hops in it. It was only 10, 5, and 2 with an ounce each in a 2.5 gallon batch. Then I did an ounce at Whirlpool. So it was mostly Mosaic. The first 2 editions are Mosaic. The third is Galaxy, and the fourth is Mosaic.
I'm glad I feel vindicated that I called Mosaic.
Mosaic all over the place.
There you go, man.
Dry hop with 2.5 ounces of Mosaic, 2.5 ounces of Galaxy in a 2.5 gallon batch, like a shit ton of hops.
Mm-hmm.
And roused in the fermenter. So yeah, there's a lot of hop matter in this. I'm glad that it's not, no one said like, this is hop burn. Like I'm not getting a big hop burn, but I'm getting that bitterness that you're talking about.
You know, personally, I like it. I'm not sure it's out of style. I think it's maybe a little high from what a lot of people's expectations are. But again, I'm drinking this commercial one on the side, and it's probably more bitter than yours is.
Maybe we need to market a new like West Coast Hazy IPA.
Oh God, please don't.
A little more bitter. The malt bill was about the same as I did before. It's mostly Simpson's Golden Promise, so 4 pounds of that, 2.75 American 2-row, a pound of flaked oats, a half a pound of torrefied wheat. And one thing I did based on a brewer's advice, Craig from Morgan Territory was talking about, if you don't acidify the hazies, it won't stabilize the haze. It'll fall out in the bottle. This one, it's staying pretty hazy. So I added only a quarter pound of German acid malt. I think I subbed it for a quarter pound of the 2-row. Yeah. So it's cool. Real similar malt bill, just real gentle adjustment there. The water is pretty much the same. It's mostly distilled water. I added, just a pitcher full of filtered water from my fridge, and I added 5 grams of calcium chloride. There's no salt calcium chloride, not sodium chloride. But yeah, I brewed this on it's now the 28th of September. I brewed it on the 1st of September. So it was brewed this month.
Oh, wow.
And
nice.
I brewed it for NCHF, which is a festival that was on the 15th, 16th of September. So I had it in the keg in less than 2 weeks. And I didn't want to like force carbonate it. So I let it gently carbonate over a few days. So I even had to keg it earlier in that week than later to get anything in it. And I invested in a floating dip tube, which has really helped too, I think.
Oh, cool.
Being
I
really
withdraw
careful.
my salt comment. I think that was probably just a outlier of just something I was tasting from something I was eating, maybe. I think when you've described that beer, to me, saying that it was less attenuated than the last one that you did, that was like the key thing to me. That's where I was getting maybe a little bit too much malt.
Yeah. Yeah,
I think you have your grist sounds good when you have all the right stuff there to make this soft. I'm not saying this is not a soft, rounded malt character beer, but I think the lack of attenuation maybe makes the malt poke out a little bit more than you would want.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I don't disagree with anything there. I think I would like it to attenuate a little bit more and to be a little bit softer on the back edge, just on the back of the mouth, the bitterness.
Yeah.
Or wherever you're perceiving that in your mouth. I don't know. I guess it's all over the place. But I was happy with it. It's enjoyable and
so
it's stable in the haze, it seems. So that's good. What
did you change from the last one?
I added acid malt just a little bit.
Yeah.
The hop schedule is pretty much the same. I mixed the hulls in a little bit better. And I only used London ale yeast this time instead of London mixed with US for, that was just the stupid thing I did. But so, I mean, I didn't want to go too crazy with changes all at once, but yeah, the gravity's higher. It's stronger, which is what I wanted. A little bit of acid malt. And then, just that, water's pretty much the same. It's not any real major changes other than, just taking out that one yeast and a little bit of change in the malt and process a little bit too, just mixing the rice hulls in better. It really does help if you mix those all in with your grist to get the flow as consistent as you can, because there's so much, huskless, malt and not non-malt content in the grist that you Your fermentables are just so much gummy, starchy stuff that if you don't put a little something in there, you're going to get stuck mash. In the Pico brew, that wouldn't be very much fun either.
No, not at all. You got to take
like whatever equipment you're using. Yeah, whenever you're using oats or wheat, you got to be real careful. And it never hurts to put some rice hulls in.
You gonna cry, Shar?
No, I just was going to burp.
Big
and
baby?
I'm a big baby who's going to burp. Oh. And it's the Brewing Network. I should have just let fly.
Yeah. Let's see. What are you happy with it, Cooper?
Yeah.
Are you gonna make any changes to it?
I might rebrew it again and make some changes. We'll see. Yeah. I think I would like, get it a little more attenuated, maybe make a bigger starter or get a bigger pitch of yeast, maybe from a brewery or something that I know.
Yeah.
But I like that London 3 yeast. I think it's a good call. And there's a lot of other ones you can use, but that one seems pretty solid and does what I wanted it to do.
Very good.
One of the funniest things about Hazy IPA to me is that London 3 had been in the catalog for, I think that was Y yeast, right? Or was that White Labs?
Yeah, it's Y yeast.
Yeah, it had been in their catalog for years. It's one I'd never used. I just always kind of wondered, who's using that and why. And then it totally got not just a new lease on life, but it just exploded like 5 years ago with Hazy IPA.
Yeah, it's weird, man. Life comes at you fast, Shar.
It sure does.
Let's take a quick break. We're going to come right back and do some more beer talk. Hang on, it's Dr. Homebrew. We'll be right back.
What's up, homebrewers? Hey, let me ask you a question. You spend a lot of time making your beer taste the way you want it to, right? Some of you even send beers into Dr. Homebrew for feedback. Well, the next logical step in your creativity is to craft some labels for those beers. And there's nobody better at creative labels than Grog Tag. Their easy-to-use designs let you turn out some pretty amazing stuff like labels, bottle caps, coasters, even six-pack carriers with minimal effort on your part. They have a range of label sizes that fit any vessel you can think of. Bottles, cans, growlers, kegs. GrogTag has you covered. Head over to grogtag.com today and check out their line of amazing, fully customizable templates and get your beer looking its best. GrogTags are water-resistant, reusable, and will have your naked bottles looking great in no time. That's grogtag.com, and be sure to use code BNARMY at checkout to save 10% on your order.
Hello, fellow BNers. This is Sully from the 21st Amendment Brewery located in San Francisco, just 2 blocks from Giants Park. Before Nico and I opened the 21A and before I was a professional brewer, I homebrewed on my small 4-burner apartment stove in a back house in Santa Monica, California, making my extract brews before graduating to the daunting idea of all-grain brewing. Homebrew books and information was hard to come by back then. The internet hadn't been invented yet, along with other things we take for granted today, like electricity and potable water. One thing I wish I had back then when I was learning was a radio show that could teach me the ins and outs of brewing and answer questions that I had about homebrewing, a resource for making great craft beer. The 21st Amendment Brewery is excited to be a proud sponsor of Dr. Homebrew, a great show that teaches you what you need to know about making incredible beer. Good stuff. Listen up, you might learn something. I certainly did. And thanks for your support. Tasty Crack Games.
Now, back to the examination.
All right, thanks for hanging on, everybody. We're back at the break. I just learned, breaking news, Coolio has passed away. Very sad times.
Can you play a little Gangster's Paradise for us, or is that going to violate like some copyright stuff?
Oh, that'll violate a whole bunch of shit.
Okay. Yeah, I don't want to make you have to suddenly pay a bunch of stuff. But no, it sucks. I mean,
no, I don't think it would be like that, but
he's not that old.
42, man. No, 40.
No, 59. 50, Elvis was 42.
59.
That was
right.
Elvis.
Okay, yeah. Heart attack.
Coolio outlived Elvis, which is kind of funny.
Yeah, but Elvis outlived Jesus. So
that's a good point.
You know, what are you going to do, right? Yeah.
Live longer.
That's weird, man. God, my worst nightmare. Go in, take a shit, you're dead. I mean, that's what happened to Shimke, for God's sakes. She didn't die. I mean, she died, but she's fine now.
She came back to life.
Yeah, right.
She's like a zombie.
She basically is. Talking to her makes you feel like one. I'm kidding. All right, what are we doing now, Coop? We got a commercial beer. We got a Sierra Nevada beer.
Yeah, Mr. Shar selected a beer called Liquid Hoppiness IPA from Sierra Nevada, and it's marketed as a juicy IPA at 7% ABV. So it's a fall seasonal issued by Sierra Nevada.
It should be widely available for our listeners. That's one reason I wanted to pick this out. Is it's a seasonal, but it's Sierra Nevada, so probably 2/3 of the people listening to this, maybe 3/4, should be able to readily find this at a grocery store or regular beer store.
And already it's, you can see the color is different, or the clarity, I suppose. It's hard to see on the camera, but it's almost, you can see through it. I'm not saying you could read through it, but you could recognize shapes through it. Whereas,
to your point earlier, JP, it's a little more like a Hefeweizen in color.
Yeah, a little bit.
In terms of its clarity, it's a little more like a Hef.
Yeah, but it's not as thick, I guess, or gravy-like as a lot of these hazy, juicy beers are.
Right.
Yeah, true.
And it's not a knock. I mean, to me, this is a much more palatable to like drink than the other ones. But even this, like, I've gotten pale ales that look like this, and it fucking pisses me off. But this is supposed to be this
hazy
way.
Pale ale.
Well, dude, that's a style that I will vomit on. I'm so upset that they're just doing that. I'm sorry. I don't like it. They should stop it.
So the malts in this are Munich, oats, Turo Pale, and wheat. The hops they used are Azaka, Cascade, Centennial, and Sultana. And
that's interesting. They're sticking around with the classic. I love Cascade and Sierra Nevada. It was like the hop that built Sierra Nevada, and it's nice that they're still using that in like a modern, hazy IPA.
Yeah, I mean, look, they got the contract. They probably need it. Need to use it. Let's throw it in here.
Yeah. So I actually just got to tour the Sierra Nevada brewery in Chico, and we got to go in their hop room and like rub hops between our hands there. And there were guys working in there, just like chiseling hops off of these big hop bales. And
they're wild, man. Who was your tour guide?
I love that.
Was it Byron?
No. Gal. Yeah. She was cool though.
That's good. They have a lot of good people there, but Byron's king shit over there.
Yeah.
I love that guy.
Well, and it was a lot of fun going there and seeing all the solar panels on the roof there, and looking at the way the brewery is designed, because they started small and they grew bigger and they work towards being sustainable as much as they can along the way. And but yeah, it's interesting how they.
I love the Sierra Nevada facility, and that's one example of. I mean, there's pros and cons to any kind of business organization. But the fact that Ken Grossman owns that place as a sole proprietorship, he can do whatever the hell he wants. There's not a board telling him, oh, you're wasting money, right? So if he wants a second copper brew kettle next to that first one that looks exactly the same and has the same art on the walls and whatever, he can do it because it's just his. And same thing as like the solar panels. They're great. But sometimes you get pushback from like your board on something about, oh, your payback period's too long. We can't do this. There's not enough ROI. And Ken can just do what he feels like doing.
True.
Yeah. So they built the tour of the Asheville, North Carolina. That's a lot different because they designed that as a massive, brewery from the ground up. So, just the way it's designed is a lot different. And you don't have one thing on top of another kind of,
Exactly.
It's interesting, but
yeah.
They make it work there, and it's they make a lot of good beer. They had some pilot beers on that were pretty fun too, and something Ghost something IPA that they made in their kind of smaller brewery, which is like way bigger than many of the local craft breweries that I go to in town.
Their small breweries probably 100 barrels.
It's something along those lines.
Yeah, if it's the same one as their when they do the hop or the brew school, I want to say it was like 10 barrels, but I forget when we did. But that be
I think they're actually building a Pico brewery in there too. I think that's going to be along that size, like a smaller number of barrels. But yeah, their kind of pilot brewery is like Brian said, like 80 or 100 barrels or something like that. It was like,
wow.
Yeah.
I love that.
It's interesting because compared to mine, it's much softer in the bitterness.
Yes.
Although they claim 55 IBUs on the recipe page information there, which seems high to me, but it might be there. It's interesting, but this beer has a much juicier impression. It just has a lot of fruit juice, like characters to it.
It really does. This is one of the handful, I think, of beers that I've had that the juicy characteristic is apropos.
Yeah. It has described.
I get like a little bit of a mango.
Yeah. I definitely got like an orange juice overripe
pineapple.
mango. Yeah, for sure. Maybe sometimes like a canned pineapple juice. It's almost a little overly sweet, and the acidity of the pineapple's gone, so it's like more what I would say like the darker levels of pineapple juice. That's the level of pineapple I get out of here. Yeah, it's right. It tastes like there's fruit in it, which I think is wild.
The sharpness of the pineapple is gone. It's replaced by just the smooth, fruity edge of it, which is interesting. Yeah.
One thing I really like about this aroma was something that I learned from the session recently. I get like a candy-like aroma from it, and that's a character that apparently can come with very high hop rates in some varieties of hop. Which you get from a bigger IPA or a hazy IPA, is you get kind of a candy type of character, and that to me is definitely present, almost kind of a medium level, almost as prominent as the juice.
Interesting. I don't get a candy thing. I don't get that. So I wish I could be
almost like a cotton candy type of character. Maybe it's pleasant. It's not out of place.
Right.
But it's not, and I should say it's present at a certain, maybe at a medium level, but it's not something that pokes out enough that it makes you focus just on that and think, oh, I'm eating cotton candy. It's there in conjunction with the juice.
Okay.
Well, the beer,
that's good. It's good to know.
And also the beer, I would say it does not come across as sweet or cloying at all. When you mention candy, like you're just talking about an aroma of some kind. But
exactly.
The body of the beer is fairly full, but it's not super sweet in the finish. You might get the mistaken impression that there's some sweetness there just from all the juice-like characters in it, but it's really pretty dry. And the sweetness, some of the sweetness is coming from the fairly substantial alcohol here, the 7%. Yeah. So I think it's really
well attenuated and it's really well carbonated.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
This has been just in my glass going nuts. But it doesn't come across with like a carbonic bite that says it's too carbonated. It's just got a firm carbonation, if that's such a thing. It just keeps sticking around, and it's not too high, it's not too low. And that's one of the hardest things for home brewers to do. It's really hard for me to do. I think it's really hard for a lot of people to do is get that carbonation right.
Well, I would think this would be a very approachable beer for someone who says, oh, I don't care for IPAs. They're too bitter. They're too harsh. They're too biting. They're too sharp. They're too in your face. If you like a little bit of alcohol, like if you're a wine drinker or something that likes, can stand a 14% beverage or higher alcohol beverage than just 5 or the basic beer,
I find drinking wine is different than drinking beer alcohol buzz wise. Like I can drink a glass of wine and whatever, but even just halfway through this tiny glass, I'm like, I kind of got a little, not a headache, but just sort of feeling it. Maybe it's psychosomatic. I don't know.
I wonder if it's the carbonation
tickling your stomach and
might be
getting that alcohol in there. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe. Who knows?
That's a good point. I mean, I wonder if anyone's done research if the carbonation gets the alcohol into your bloodstream faster.
I heard a long time ago, and I didn't hear much about it afterwards, but I seem to remember someone explaining that the alcohol was different.
Well, it's ethanol. Ethanol is ethanol, but I would think that the carbonation can be agitating things in your stomach a little bit, keeping things moving around a little more. Maybe. Yeah. I don't know.
But you're right. It is a very approachable beer. And I was thinking when you were saying all that stuff is that it is very middle of the road, which isn't necessarily what Sierra Nevada does usually. It's not an outlier. It's not a standout in the field, but maybe it is because it feels like maybe much like the hop, whatever the hop flash, right? Their hop water thing. It is sort of geared for a certain aspect of people, but I don't know. I feel like with this style, it's better when you back off of all of the bullshit that goes into making a style like this. When you're not as aggressive with the hops or with the water chemistry or doing all the crap that fucking craft brewers love to do, when you dial it back and just use the highlights of that style, I think you make a decent product. I think you make a better product than you do normally. So like you look at this, if you're a hazy beer guy and you look at this and you go, that's not, what is this? Sierra Nevada suck. They're not really making, and you taste it. You're like, that's not really juicy or whatever, creamy or whatever. It doesn't need to be, because the sum of the parts are greater than they are individually with this beer.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's a good example of, when a new style comes out, we don't need to push the envelope. You don't need to go over the top if you want to make a juicy, hazy IPA like this. You can subtly do it, work on your flavors, and that's going to get you farther than, how many shapes you can see through the beer.
Yeah, I mean,
it's got the cascade is still noticeable.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of like a nod to heritage. Sorry, Brian, you were.
Yeah,
I've never been good at that, picking out hops.
I think I would like a little more hop character in the nose, at least myself. But
I agree. Yes.
I find it to be very enjoyable as it is. It's just like, if you like something like screwdrivers, like session screwdrivers, orange juice with vodka, this could be your go-to beer. But I will say something about, not all hazy IPAs are going to be super juicy. Some of them are very hop forward and they're soft underneath. They're not as fully, rich on the juiciness. And not all, you could have a juicy IPA that's perfectly clear too. It's just that something that's suggestive of, fruit juices, especially tropical and, citrus fruit juices. It should never be sweet like the juice, but it should have a little bit of body and have that kind of impression of, quote, juiciness. But, again, there's a lot of variance in the hazy IPA category. It's category 21C in the 2021 BJCP guidelines. And it should be smooth, that's for sure. Yeah. But, and often opaque, but there can often be less haze. There's a lot of variance allowed in these. So I think some of the beers I like the best are the, quote, juicier IPAs with the softer bitterness that are perfectly clear. And that's kind of my jam.
Interesting.
I'm making a bold prediction. That I'm just going to go out on a limb here. And I think that the trend in the next 12 to 18 months is going to be different combinations of playing around with merging hazy IPA and West Coast IPA, and kind of just taking some from column A and some from column B and just seeing what comes out of that. I think you're going to see a lot more.
Isn't that already out? Isn't that already a thing? Or you probably more mainstream?
Yeah, probably. But I think that might be something that's more mainstream.
You go to the East Coast and you order a West Coast style IPA, there's almost always at least some haze in it. And IPAs, granted that they're allowed some haze. West Coast IPA can have haze, not a massive amount like my IPA, but some haze.
Remember the IBU wars when the 1,000 IBU beers or what, the 100, the 90, 100 IBU beers they had a lot of haze. They're not this kind of haze, but they had haze.
Yeah, my brother made a beer called Green Hell, and they just put so much hops in it that the fermenter was just green and just insane. I don't know how he transferred that. He must have got a lot of oxygen. But it is
sounds gross.
Adding so much hops, it makes it a challenge doing your normal brewing procedures and stuff. You have to do weird things like get a floating dip tube for your keg or whatever.
Exactly.
But, anyway, I don't know. Right. I enjoy this beer, and I think it's fun to taste it.
Yeah, it's good. Let's take a quick break. Hold on. We'll come right back. We'll talk a little bit about how this meets the style and wrap up the apparently hazy IPA talk here on Dr. Homebrew. Hang on. We'll be right back.
The leader in affordable, high-quality kegerators is here. Introducing Komos, the kegerator designed with serious beer drinkers in mind. It features an all-stainless steel draft tower, a major upgrade over traditional chrome-plated brass towers, and Komos keeps your new tower cold with their air-cooled tower fan, wrapping your beer lines in frigid coolness. Your beer is poured from innovative forward-sealing faucets that don't leak, so they stay cleaner for longer. Dual gas inlets on the rear of the fridge allow you to run both CO2 and nitrogen gas. Serve your beer with CO2, serve your kegged wine or even cocktails with nitrogen. The digital temperature display has the largest range available, allowing you to use the Komos Kegerator for fermentation if you need to. And now Komos Kegerators ship with duo-tight draft fittings for that click-to-connect assembly we've all dreamed of. Buy direct from KomosDraft.com and receive free shipping on your order. That's KOMOS Draft.com.
Dr. Homebrew, please report to the ER for code blue. Dr. Homebrew to the ER, please. No, and your tea time has been moved to 2:30.
All right, thanks for sticking around, everybody. We're about to get out of here, but we wanted to just wrap up real quick with the Liquid Hoppiness IPA from Sierra Nevada. Does this meet the style guidelines, you guys? Is this a technically, relevant style, I guess, or whatever? If you wanted to make a beer, you wanted to study this style, you went up to the store, you got it, this would be okay?
Yes. I would say yes, but it has its own balance. I mean, the overall impression for a hazy IPA, as declared by the BJCP guidelines, is an American IPA with intense fruit flavors and aromas, a soft body, smooth mouthfeel, and an often opaque with substantial haze. Less perceived bitterness than traditional IPAs, but always massively hop forward. I guess that's the only place where I think it is maybe like the hops aren't super forward in the nose.
Right.
And to be a slightly, more to style version of it, it would have a little more hop nose, but it is its own. It has its own balance. Like I said, it's way toward the juicy side of things.
I completely agree with Cooper. If I was going to change anything on this, I'd like to have a little more hop aroma. And this is not a knock on Sierra Nevada, but I love pretty much everything Sierra Nevada makes. That is one thing they always consistently seem to have a little less hop aroma in their beers than maybe some of their competitors do. To me.
Yeah. I mean, this is canned on 7/12. So pretty fresh. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's
not
too long. 2.5 months. It's not bad if it's been refrigerated.
Pretty good time to drink it. Yeah.
Yeah. And I think
it comes out in July. They put it out through September. So get it fresh and see if it tastes a little hoppier in July. It very well might.
Yeah. But it is not bad. If you're trying to get into the hazy IPAs, this is definitely a beer for you. 100%.
It's better than a lot of your other choices.
Yeah, because it's not aspirin-y. It's not aggressive. Yeah. It's not chalky.
It's carbonated.
It's carbonated.
It's got carbonation. I like that.
Yeah, it's going to be, knowing them, it's going to be consistent and it's going to be packaged very well. So this can could go, stay warm for a couple of months and you could take it camping and it'll be just fine.
Yeah, it'll be okay. I mean,
well,
they're not magicians, but drink it. Buy it and drink it.
Drink it.
That's it, right? We're done? We're out of here.
We should tell people,
yes,
if they want to enter their homebrew on Dr. Homebrew, they should email Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com. We don't just accept entries from people who are on the show hosting it, but we would like entries from other people as well. I think on our next show we'll have something like that going on. But
all right,
yeah, thanks to those that are sending in beers. We've got some more cool beers coming in for our future shows. Yeah, I'm looking forward to trying those.
We do absolutely
always need more.
Yeah, for sure. We've always talked about us brewing beers to the same recipe. We should do that. We should do figure out a Dr. Homebrew recipe, maybe figure it on the air, share that with everybody, and then brew it. Well, us brew it, and then we can, swap the bottles and see how we did.
And then we can publish the recipe if it's any good and let other brewers brew it and send it in to us. So there better be something we like.
There you go.
And maybe I haven't brewed for like 5 years, and maybe I'll just go back to like the pasta pot, partial mash or full mash. Just brew like a gallon. Just, what the hell? Just go for it.
Yeah. You want my Pico brew?
Basics. Yeah.
Yeah.
You can have it.
I might get a Brewzilla at some point. And then I just think about, it's a good system, but whenever I think about home brewing again, I think about how much time it takes to do it right. And I'm not sure I have all that time to fit that into my life right now.
Yeah. For me, it's cleaning.
Yeah.
I'd love brewing, but I don't love cleaning. I hate it. And then transferring, I got to figure that out. That's the hard
carbonation.
Part.
Carbonation is always, whether it's bottles or keg.
Oh yeah,
it's always been the bane of my existence.
That's true. Mm-hmm. All right, let's get out of here, everybody. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I appreciate it. Again, that's Brian at thebrewingnetwork.com. And then, of course, check out our favorite people over at 5starchemicals.com. All right, everyone. Thanks a lot for tuning in. Next time, we'll hear.